Hi, welcome back everyone. Today I'm taking you on a late summer cycle stroll of roughly 25 kilometers along the Grand River. This is my Newport cruiser, and as you can probably tell, I've spared absolutely no expense on the luggage setup. We've got a bag tied to the back with a shoelace, cardboard inside to give it some structure, and another shoelace keeping the whole thing vaguely attached to the bicycle. So what have I actually brought with me today? A notebook, a pen, a water bottle, a slice of zucchini bread, and about $3.60, which I'm hoping will purchase me a pack of chamomile tea later. And from here, the plan is fairly simple. We are starting off in Dune, heading east, then north towards my nemesis, Highway 8, before turning south and following the Grand River all the way back home. Hopefully without dying. And before we properly get going, I've spotted something rather important. A pear. There is honestly so much wild and feral food growing around cities that just goes completely to waste, and I'm not going to let that happen today, so thank you, Pear. As we leave Homer Watson Boulevard behind, I should probably explain the name. Homer Watson was a painter who lived around here in the 1800s and painted this sort of landscape. And later on, I'm going to show you somewhere where I reckon he might have found a little bit of inspiration. But first, we are almost at Highway 8, and naturally, I've been distracted again. Russian olive. Beautiful little things. And this, I believe, is going to be the last intersection I come across for quite some while. Heading southeast towards the trailhead. And this is probably one of my favorite trails around here. It's probably the closest you can get to feeling properly tranquil without leaving the city. We are following the Grand River now along its eastern shore. And there's a little lift dam here. I passed a couple of people fishing along the way. One thing I really want to do is canoe the entire length of this river, starting from the headwaters and eventually ending up in Lake Erie. That would be quite the adventure. And then I found this little rock in the river which seemed like a pretty good place to sit down for a minute. So naturally, the pair came out, and after a little break, I got back onto the trail. And within about a minute, I'd been distracted again, and this time by some mingling monarchs. There's a massive golf course over here on the left, and another one just where the trail eventually ends. This is the Pioneers Memorial Tower, built by Mennonites who moved up here from Pennsylvania. And that means we're getting very close to something I'm rather excited about. Just down this hill, and no, it's not Rosie. I haven't found Rosie. But there are almost a dozen apple trees down here. And once these reach the perfect stage of ripeness, I am coming back. I'm going to harvest them and turn them into sparkling cider using their own wild yeast. I'm also going to make a whole video about that, so stay tuned. For now though, I quenched my thirst with a scrumptiously sweet apple, and I was almost ready to cross the river and start heading back towards home. Almost, because suddenly 14 turkeys decided to cross in front of me. And I'll be honest, I was tempted. A fully gathered meal of roasted turkey, elderberry sauce, and sparkling apple cider? But alas, I had to suppress my primal hunter-gatherer instincts and let them live. For now. Eventually, I found a nice spot underneath a tree, got the zucchini bread out, wrote down a few ideas in my notebook, and then decided it was time to head into the store. Which is where the day took a rather disappointing turn. The chamomile tea I'd been dreaming about was there, but a small 20-pack of Tetley chamomile was $5. I only had $3.60. So after doing several increasingly desperate laps around the shop, scouring every aisle for some sort of bargain, I eventually admitted defeat and left with a bag of black pepper lime chips. Thanks for watching. See you next time.